Hello guys, welcome back to Interstellar Idol devlog number 2. I finally made enough progress to come out with the second devlog. I know it was a while since I come out with the last one, but it's just taken me a minute to get this mining system worked out. Over the past week, I've mainly worked on the bank manager script and the harvestable manager script. On top of that, I have also started to work on the skills manager script and incorporated that into the harvestable manager script so that when you mine, you do gain experience in the mining related skills. Last time we took a look at the project, the UI wasn't hooked up to the scripts, but now a fair amount of the UI is actually hooked up. So if we hop into the game here and we take a look at the bank tab, you can see that the script is showing us our inventory now where it wasn't last time. The trade screen is still the same. And then of course, when we hop to the ships and the sales screen, you are going to see there's quite a bit different in here. However, I'll go over that towards the end of the video. For now, let's go ahead and hop in to what we're working with in the mining side of things now. Let's just take the mining barges, for example, and we're going to click this mine button here, and that's going to pull up this little window. And this is where you go in and you select what belt class you want to mine. Now, later on, once I get the combat system implemented, I do plan on making the higher class belts more dangerous, so that deters people away from getting the good ore. You know, and obviously something like in the Arrows belt, you're having the common ore, and then something in like the Vesta belt, you're having the rare types of ore to be mined. Now, the way mining works is that you roll a number, you roll a random number, or at least the script does, and based on what ship you're using, you have something called a successful harvest chance. I believe right now for the mining frigates, it's about 5%. And then for the mining barges, it's 25%. And if you do hit a successful harvest, then it goes down through here and it determines the ore you get. Something like bauxite is considered an uncommon ore, where something like coal ore is considered a common ore. So mining in this low class belt, you're going to have a higher chance of extracting coal ore rather than an uncommon ore like bauxite ore. Now, to kind of balance things out, I did mention earlier that these mining frigates take a roll every second and the mining barges take a roll every 5 seconds. However, not only do the mining barges have a buff in the successful harvest chance department, they've got a 20% buff over the mining frigates, they also extract 5 times the amount of ore. And of course, over time, this is all going to be balanced out. Right now, I just need a rudimentary system that I can go and test things out in. But let's go ahead and hop in here, and we'll go and throw a few of these guys in the arrow spell. It's going to take 5 seconds to update, and there we go. We hit a few successful harvests, so I think we put 3 ships in there, and 2 of them hit a successful harvest on the first try. That's pretty lucky. Every 5 seconds it's going to update, and over time our inventory is going to fill up with this ore. As I mentioned in the previous devlog, you're then going to be able to sell the ore to refine it down into these minerals to build ships and so on. Haven't gotten that far yet. But it is looking pretty good so far. Now what I want to do is I want to hop into the combat portion and go through and explain that, because I've changed my thoughts on the combat portion of the game. Now, last time we took a look at this screen, we saw things like the IF frigate here, and IF stands for Icarus Federation, and that's kind of the corporation that makes the player ships, and there might be more corporations later on down the road, but this is just what we have for now. But this used to be considered the IF frigate, the IF destroyer, light cruiser, and so on. Now, I've changed things up. Instead of you assembling a fleet of ships to go do combat, I buffed the hell out of these ships, and I want it to be single ship combat now. So you would take something like, say, the IF Condor, and you would go in, and it would be active. You'd be fighting, say, I don't know, 6 other enemy frigates, but you would just fight them one at a time, and you would have several things you could do, like buffing the shields or buffing your weapons. And this would all go off, and this is all based off of, and I'm saying this in air quotations, your ship's battery. And so maybe if you're struggling, you'll sink more of your ship's battery into the shield so that it allows you to survive longer. However, if you take something like the Poseidon here into a low tier combat site, you're going to want to buff up the weapons. That way you can get that site done faster. Before this change, it was just all going to be idle. But I want to have that opportunity there for players to have an active experience if they so wish. And of course, there will be other combat activities that are idle, but I did want to get this active activity into the game first. And so that's the reason behind all these changes, and I hope it works out for the better. Now, the next step of the project, next devlog, we're going to be covering combat. Hopefully I've got that system out. I do have, if we look here, I do have a fair bit of the UI, but it's very much so still in progress. It's not hooked up. I don't have the code written behind it. I just like to get the UI out of the way first. That way I can go in and know what I need to program. Now, I do have a graphic design buddy that gave me quite a few tips on improving this UI. It is very cluttered. You've got a lot of information there. The font is kind of bad, especially in things like this, like the header might be fine. But most certainly the body font needs to change. So I'll go in and do that at some point. I don't know if it'll be before the next devlog. I'm guessing probably not. But that's just something to look forward to. And there we have it for devlog number 2. To give a short recap, the mining portion of the game is mostly finished and we'll be taking on the combat systems next. If you wouldn't mind, give the video a thumbs up and let me know what you think of the progress down in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.